think a lot of my using career was like intense isolation. Before that, like I had like a lot of friends, like a great social life, and then as I got deeper and deeper into my addiction, I started to like burn bridges, and they kind of like fell off one by one, right?
Most drug use and alcohol use kind of starts as a social thing, and then eventually those same drugs end up isolating you.
Yeah.
So it pushes everybody away that you originally started using with. They kind of outgrow it, or it's just a little phase for them, or they're just trying to party a couple times.
I started to need to, like chug a beer or take some Xanax before I could hang out with people because my social anxiety got extremely bad. Because like my other friends were like, okay, yeah, I'm just gonna like smoke weed and just like drink, but I was always like looking for like the better high, and like one of my really good friends just kind of cut me off and said like, I can't talk to you anymore, and like we need to be away from you. Because at that time I started doing like meth and stuff, and that was beyond the scope of their drug use. I was upset at first because they had cut me off from like my circle of friends that I had like through middle school and stuff. But eventually I did kind of find comfort in the isolation as well.
There's no one there to judge you.
Yeah, exactly.
And a lot of us, I think, in our addiction are so afraid of being judged by other people, which is why we end up isolating.
In the beginning, I think it was a lot of trying to balance both, like balance getting high and then keeping that big secret to all my friends. And then as it became like more and more obvious that I had a drug problem, I think people started to like shy away from me. And then also I was pretty embarrassed about it, so I shied away from them and like kind of just kept to myself a lot.
At a particular time, I had moved up into like North Texas where I didn't know anyone really, and I would just get on Grindr and we'd go somewhere and smoke meth. And one time I looked around and I was like, this is a really sketchy situation, like I should not be here. Even though I had met up with lots of different people on these apps, I never actually had a support structure for being LGBT. It's interesting because now I feel like I have a really wholesome involvement in the community now that I had gone through Recovery Unplugged, and they had such a great support structure there for LGBT that I was able to actually form connections with people and show that side of myself of who I really am. And that was really awesome to be there and get that support structure that still carries on today, even after I'm done with treatment.
One of the things I love about Recovery Unplugged so much is how non-judgmental they are and how accepting of everybody's lifestyles, and how they just promote that individualism in everybody and just want you to be yourself and be comfortable with yourself. The other part about Recovery Unplugged that is great and it's obvious is our music piece. And so you're a musician, right?
Yes. Yeah.
So what was your life like as a musician prior, while you were in your addiction, and what's it like now, and how has your relationships changed?
In the beginning, I used it as like the coping mechanism for being okay with myself, right? But as time went on, I just completely forgot who I was. I guess like the crazy part for me was like I was living my dream, right? Like playing these cool shows and getting to travel around, and like didn't enjoy 1 second of it. So I was like living my dream, but I was just on drugs the whole time. I guess my passion for it was like sucked dry just because of just the addiction. All I cared about was doing drugs, and it was getting in the way of me doing drugs. Yeah. And they were getting frustrated. They were like my brothers, man. They were my family, Even at the time, even though like I was kind of disconnected from the world, like that even fucked me up, Like just having to tell them, hey, I'm picking the drugs over you guys, or just I can't do this.
And that sort of becomes a habit in addiction, where you just learn, your brain automatically chooses the substance over a substantial relationship, basically. Right. So then when you get to Recovery Unplugged,
right.
How did it change your perspective on social interaction in the music world?
The great thing about coming to Recovery Unplugged was I got to kind of rekindle that relationship I had with music. And I forgot that the reason I started playing in the first place is because I just love it. Like, it's fun, right? It's my outlet. In the beginning, if you tried to have a conversation with me, it just wasn't gonna happen because I was like, my voice would shake and I just would just like, I would just completely, I just had no social skills from using drugs for so long, right? But like you get me up on stage playing drums or playing even guitar, like all of a sudden I was myself again.
There's a type of bond you get where it's not just like, oh, we sat there and we talked, but you jammed, and that's like a really intimate, cool thing. You feel that much closer to the people.
Being in recovery and learning how to apply all these skills you learn, like healthy communication and keeping an open mind. It's just cool how closely it relates to like all these tools we learned getting sober are all these tools I use in music nowadays.
Right.
And it completely opened up a new world for me.
Now I have real human connections with people, and that's something I never even wanted back when I was using. Coming to Recovery Unplugged was like joining a giant family almost.
It sounds cheesy, especially maybe to someone that's like first getting sober, but like that whole thing, the opposite of addiction is connection. That's just the truth. My best friends to this day are people I went through treatment with, right? And we all bonded together and stayed sober. And it's people I met at Recovery Unplugged. They're more than just friends to me. They are, like, they feel like family.